as I was doing this, I was sitting there struggling with it, going, do I really need a 20-inch lathe? No, but I wanted one. But I want to tell you something, and this is what made me spin this off into its own video by itself. For all you new people, or old people that don't really mess with big machines, say you got a 10-inch 10E or a 10-inch South Bend heavy 10. A 10-inch, you sit there and go, well, this is 10-inch. I need to do 12 or 16. Boy, it'd be nice if I had a 20-inch. I could put something 20 inches in diameter. Yes, you could. And that's the case with me. For years, I made do with an old heavy 10. Like 34 years, I made do with one. And then I got an Axelson 16 and fell in love. I didn't fall in love with the amount of work it takes to run a bigger machine. And you say, well, this is just a 20. You had a 16. The difference between a 20 and 16 is astronomical. The difference between a 10-inch and a 16-inch, you won't believe. You just don't understand until you actually see the tools and pick it up. So what I'm going to show you is some of the pitfalls of having a big machine. Now, the biggest pitfall is tooling. It's 10 times more expensive than other tooling for 10-inch lathe for this thing. Why? It's bigger. They don't sell as many of these as they do 10-inchers. So, you know, the volume. It's just as in this is a tool block for a 10-inch. You'd probably go to a 12-inch if you had to. This is a drill holder. It'll fit a tang in there. This is one of mine for a 20-inch or a 16-inch even fits this size. Get my point? But one thing that 10-inch can't do is drill a hole with one of these. Of course, you go to the gym and lift weights to be able to pick these things up. Now this one's got a tang on it, but suppose you didn't have a tang, then you need a chuck. How about a chuck for it? Get my point? Get the point? Huge. In fact, all the tools I have, God, this is a back plate for a lathe. Doesn't even have the chuck on it. Oh. Boring bars. Remember? Boring bar. Boring bar. What else? How about I look through my tooling tray? Now I like these little cobalt roll around carts. They're really great for doing this. And I usually get one for each big machine. You know, all the different things you need. There's a regular, that'll fit on a 10-inch pretty good. But then if you wanted to put this one in here, you're just out of luck. Drills, they get heavy. Then you go, can y'all see in there? more tool blocks. You know, the tool holders get bigger. You got to buy a whole new set of tool holders. You know, they're just huge. Then you need taper adapters of all sizes, you know. There's a little center drill and a little holder for it in an adapter, which then you would need to put into another adapter, and then you would have to put it into another adapter to get up to the tailstock size for that one. So lots of adapters needed. This is a taper drill holder adapter. Boring bars, big drills. Don tells me he's got the grinder base that we bought to sharpen these almost all finished painted, so pretty soon we'll be able to sharpen them. I've got quite a few that's got some chips in them that need some work. What else? More adapters. Then of course, down there on the bottom, you're going to need drill chucks. Yeah. Get my point? And then that 20-inch lathe that's only 5 inches on each side bigger than that 10-inch takes up a lot more space. And then your chuck wrenches get bigger. Your chucks gets bigger. You got to have a jib crane like that one we built up here to pick things up and change it, even sometimes put the piece of metal on. Just moving the carriage around becomes a different matter. Moving the tailstock, which is down on this end, I would say for those of you in Rio Linda, but I got in trouble last time, so I can't. Just moving your tailstock around. You gotta have a crank down here to do it. That's a tailstock. To tighten it in position, you gotta have a big wrench. I want to show you something. Let me turn this light away so it doesn't blind you. This is something I looked for nearly 7 years. This is the carriage handle for the spindle on these machines. I found this one and I gave $200 for it. I would have given $3. I would have bought the whole damn lathe to get it, but then I couldn't move it in here. But where that goes is down here. I don't know if you can. There's a shaft here at the very bottom that this fits on. And you can set and engage the spindle from here. You can go to reverse, and it's shaped this way so it misses that tray. Now, I have seen very, very few Axelsons that this was still on. And if you look closely at the geometry of this handle, you might get an idea why some people take them off. Need I say more? Well, I'm putting mine back on. I figure I'm faster than all those other guys, And I can move and I protect my stuff a little bit more than they may have been doing. And I learned from their mistakes. Stand way back here and you'll be okay. Why would you need that? It's a big lathe. If I'm working down here on this end, it's a pain to get over there and turn it off, especially if there's a problem that develops. I've got this right here on the end, flip it out of gear. If this thing is peeling off hot chunks of metal, size of quarters, it goes everywhere. In fact, there's some chips I was cutting the other day. Well, the other few months ago. And they're spinning out over here. Well, you got to get to the controls over here. So having that on the end is a really, I consider, essential part of running a lathe safely. Are you beginning to get the idea that you may not need a 20-inch lathe? There's another thing that I searched for a long time. These steady rests. Now, this one here is a 20-inch that comes for this machine. The one right behind it will work on this machine, but it was made for an 18-inch. And I really don't need two, so if anybody has an 18-inch, they want to buy this one. Probably $4 million, and naming your first child Don will buy that for you. Get in touch with me and we'll talk about it. The child named Don is not negotiable though. Like I said, this lathe is arguably one of the finest ever made. And it was built in Los Angeles, California, and it had so many sales going on and so many innovations that it was hurting a really big lathe company. And you know the old, if you can't beat them, buy them. Sort of like Autodesk does with all their competitors. Never forgive them for getting rid of generic CAD. And that was 30 years ago. They did the same thing to this company. They bought it, said everything's going to be fine, and then a year later they shut it down. Then that year they made a few changes to save some money. And one of the other changes they made after they bought the company was this plate. And I haven't seen very many of these. In fact, this is the only one I've seen that's made like this. Before the company was bought, they were all made like that. Cast bronze. Really detailed casting work. You can still read it very finely. Don took this off the 16-inch out there and redid it. Isn't it pretty? They put an aluminum one on here. You know, that would look a hell of a lot nicer. But I don't know where I could ever find one. They also did the same exact thing down here. Cast aluminum. It works, but this is so much nicer. It shows you where it's made, and this is where the serial numbers are on Axelsons. This one here for the 16-inch is 3943, and then it's got an anchor on the end, so it went to the Navy. This one is 4951, and just a way of saving money. Damn bean counters. Now this is some of the things that they've done down here. It's aluminum. It's not bronze there either. This is a stop for the crossfeed. You can set this at different stops along the way, the travel, and then it stops. Then you can stop it and go on to the next one, hit another one, and hit it when it hits that. So it's an early method of putting a hard stop along your crossfeed. All the other controls are here. These are the clutches for the traverse and everything. And this one, you can also pull both clutches at the same time and it'll cut a 45, which is really handy sometimes. Up here, this is the main spindle clutch. Pull it to you for forward, that's neutral, then that's reverse. Got all your different speeds and changing of the everything through here. Got a stop here you can move to wherever you want to. It's a very nice. It's even down here, it's hard to see and I can't really show you very well. But here's an adjustable stop that will trigger and take it out of feed as it's going along. What more could you want? Well, I hope it taught you something that I didn't know until I really got deep into buying bigger machines. The difference between a 10 and 20 is huge. Not in work envelope, but in physical size, horsepower. You know, this has got a 20 horsepower motor sucking down electricity. Used to have a little heavy 10, and that sucker was 110 volt, no phase converter. And I made a lot of stuff that was 12 inches wide on that lathe over the years. So anyway, as you can hear in here, the phase converter's going, but because the motor's outside in the doghouse, can't hear it. It's another thing I learned. Put your motors outside. Go to Tractor Supply and buy one of those two-piece dog houses. Make you a door for it, screw it on there, put your motor in there on blocks. Every once in a while, chase the ants out, and you'll be golden. I got to get to the play. Talk to you all later. I tell you, this losing weight stuff's not for sissies. The clothes don't fit, you got to drill holes in your belt. My God. What I've done over there is set up that little piece that I'm making for this other project, and I'm just going to really quickly put a bevel on it so I can do a weld on there without interfering. That's just down and dirty, getting the mill scale off of it and ready to weld. Well, I was just getting the mill scale off the sides, getting it ready with a bevel to weld. Nothing fancy. It's a lot easier doing it with this than a grinder. But back to that question, do you really want a 20-inch lathe? I did. Thanks for watching.